Hello, everyone. Today I am going to be doing chapter 5 of The Dream Giver. It's been a minute since I did anything on the podcast book. So just so you know, these are unedited. I just want to read to you really quick without having to go through the process of editing. So I'm just going to post this right after I get done reading it. This is chapter 5, Ordinary Finds Sanctuary. One night, Ordinary dreamed the dream. One night, Ordinary dreamed that dream. The dream giver was standing near him. Well done, Ordinary, the dream giver said. Come to my sanctuary. When Ordinary awoke, he was beside a gurgling stream. How he had arrived there or when, he wasn't sure, but the wasteland was behind him. He wondered at the dream and hoped it was true. Was the dream giver pleased with him? Was sanctuary a real place? And could it be nearby? He picked up his knapsack and decided to follow the stream into the lush mountain forest he saw ahead. Something seemed to be drawing him onward and upward. He couldn't say what, but it felt like an invitation. Before long, giant trees towered over Ordinary. Walking across the floor of the forest, he felt hushed and small and swallowed up by greatness. Then he began to climb. Higher and higher he climbed, following the stream until suddenly he entered a level clearing filled with bright light. His heart told him that this was sanctuary, and he was in the presence of the dream giver. Come into the water, he heard the dream giver say. Ahead of him, in the clearing, he saw a small waterfall that fed a pool of still waters. He walked to the edge, then slipped into the purest water he had ever seen. He floated and splashed, sending diamonds of light spraying through the air. Time passed, but it didn't seem to pass at all. When Ordinary emerged from the pool, the last traces of the wasteland had been washed away. Ordinary stayed in the clearing filled with light for many days. The dream giver had never felt so close, as present now as he had felt absent in the wasteland. Then Ordinary heard the dream giver's voice again. Come into the light. That's when Ordinary noticed that the light, which had been shining all around him, was now shining through him. Trembling, he looked, and he saw into his heart. He saw things he had said and done, and he did not want to see them. He saw rebellion and selfishness and betrayal, and everywhere he looked, he saw darkness. Tears began streaming down his cheeks. Take away my darkness, he looked. And he pleaded, give me your light. And the dream giver did. He took away Ordinary's darkness and gave him his light. Then the dream giver said, come closer to me. And Ordinary did. Again and again, Ordinary came deeper into the light. And the further he came, the more he felt at one with the dream giver. Then the dream giver spoke again. Come higher, he said. Ordinary started up the mountain, his step light. He couldn't wait to discover what the dream giver had in store for him. Before long, Ordinary emerged at the summit. He found himself standing at a broad table of rock, gazing out at a glorious sight. A river below, then a wide valley, and above it, all along the far horizon, a gleaming ribbon of shining hills. The promised land! Ordinary gasped. It has to be. Yes, the dream giver said. Ordinary let out a shout of victory. I made it! My big dream is right over there, he yelled. Yes, Ordinary was overcome with happiness. His big dream was finally within reach. Oh, how he wished that best friend and his parents and every nobody in Familiar could be here to see what he is seeing at this moment. Ordinary, said the dream giver. Yes, said Ordinary. Give me your dream. What do you mean? Ordinary asked. It's my dream. You're the one that gave it to me. Yes, and now I'm asking you to give it back. Ordinary was shocked, but he didn't even have to think. I can't, he told the dream giver, and I won't. Ordinary paced back and forth along the rim of the summit, trying to understand what had just happened. Why would the dream giver want to take away his big dream? How could he even ask, especially now when Ordinary had come so far? It wasn't fair. It wasn't even right. Then Ordinary had an idea. Maybe there was a way out. Do I have to give it back? He asked. No, the dream giver said. Some choose not to. So he had a choice. He could keep his dream. But instead of relief at the thought, Ordinary felt confused and sad. What was he going to do? He slumped down on the rock. He thought for a long while. Then finally, he saw what was at stake. He could please the dream giver and surrender his dream. Or he could go against the dream giver's wishes and keep his dream, but risk losing the dream giver's pleasure. The choice broke his heart. Time passed. Ordinary thought and thought and thought some more. The sun set and rose again. In the morning light, his eyes fell on a smooth, flat stone nearby. Picking it up, he noticed that the stone fit perfectly in his palm. Then he saw a word etched into its surface. Remember. What could it mean? He wondered. Was the stone a message from the dream giver or from another dreamer? What should he remember? Holding the stone, Ordinary found himself thinking back. He remembered Champion and Faith. They must have faced this choice. What would they say to him now? He remembered the returning dreamers. He could still hear their sad and bitter voices. They couldn't have surrendered their dream here. They didn't even trust the dream giver. Over and over, the stone turned in his palm. Finally, his thoughts turned to the dream giver. The dream giver had always kept his promises. He had always been good to Ordinary, even when he was nowhere in sight and nothing seemed to make sense. Then Ordinary knew what he had to do. No, what he wanted to do. He carried his knapsack to the edge of the rock and sat down. He took out his journal and his long white feather, and he wrote his last entry about his big dream. I am surrendering my dream to you, dream giver. I've decided that it's you I can't go on without. Then Ordinary left his journal open on the rock. He wouldn't be needing it any longer. He put the feather and the stone in his bag and began to slowly make his descent to the river below. Later that day, Ordinary reached the river. No one waited for him there. He had no dream and no plan now. Yet he felt a deep peace. He waded into the river and swam across, pulling his knapsack behind him. At the far bank, he climbed out, and the first thing he saw was his journal lying open on the grass. His heart racing, he picked it up and read, Ordinary, I'm giving you back your dream now. You can use it. Now you can use it to serve me. Now you can achieve truly great things. And I am with you always. Ordinary knelt by the riverbank and wept with joy. The dream giver was more kind, more good, and more wonderful and trustworthy than he had ever imagined. Now when Ordinary looked at his surrendered dream, he saw that it had grown. Now his dream was no longer only about Ordinary. Now it was a part of the dream giver's big dream for the whole world. When Ordinary stood to leave, he noticed on the rise above the river a memorial built of stones. Every stone was smooth and small and had the word remember etched on its surface. Standing by the monument to the dream giver's goodness, Ordinary felt awed and surrounded by many witnesses. Carefully he placed his own stone at the top of the memorial and walked on. That evening, by the light of the moon, Ordinary pulled out his journal out of its knapsack and wrote about his time in Sanctuary. I will never be the same after Sanctuary. I swam in the still waters there and washed away the last traces of the wasteland. The dream giver's light revealed the darkness inside of me. It was unbearable. How could he want me to come closer? But he took away my darkness. When the dream giver asked me to give my dream to him, I didn't think I could, but I wanted the dream giver more than my dream, so I did. The dream giver gave me my dream back. Now it is a part of his big dream, and that means my dream is a lot bigger than before. May I always use it to serve him.